everyone, welcome to Crystal Eclipse. My name is Jessica. In this video, we'll be asking the cards about your future spouse or your current spouse, whoever it is that you're hoping this reading will be based on, and how they feel about you versus their ex or their previous relationship. I have 5 stacks for you all today. If you'd like to skip to whatever stack or stacks you've chosen, you can check the description box or the comment section for timestamps if you'd like to just skip there immediately. We have 5 stacks today to choose from. We have obsidian, clear quartz, ocean jasper, labradorite, and lastly rose quartz. So choose whichever stack or stacks call out to you and we will get started. Also, I want to apologize if you hear any noise in the background. So starting with our first stack and obsidian, our first card here is the Star. Next we have Judgment, the Page of Pentacles, and lastly we have Time to Go. So let me zoom you in a little bit. With this stack, we're seeing 2 sides to this relationship and its sort of path that it's gone down. But we're seeing a very common theme along all of these. There is either a star, meaning in this card there's a star, there's a star, and there are little stars here, or the source of light in all of these cards. And that's what I'm seeing you as in this person's life once they've ended the previous relationship and gone to you. I see Time to Go here really representing the end of that previous relationship and your arrival, or the realization that there's something better out there that this person that you're going to be with or are already with is having. This is them leaving that previous relationship and realizing there's so much more out there for them, so much more that they're deserving of. So rather than staying in that toxic relationship or staying in a relationship that they weren't happy in, they chose to leave it and embark on something new. We do see these stars here almost following this person as they run toward the door. So we can see it as you on the horizon during the end of this previous relationship. So when it comes to them comparing you to their ex, I would say it's not a comparison. They don't really think like they were better than you in this and you were better than them in this. What they think of is you're so much greater than this previous person. You think so much different. There is never anything that they can say this ex did that was better than you or that they preferred over you. Everything with you is what they wanted, what they had hoped for. So it's a completely different situation. Although they do think of certain situations that their ex was in, it's going to be more in a way that is a compliment toward you, where they're happy that they're with you, because if they were with their ex would have handled that situation completely different than the way you handle it. Then we're seeing this Page of Pentacles card coming in, and I'm seeing this as part of this movement toward you in this relationship. We're seeing these sandwiches on the floor, which could be them almost throwing away that relationship, getting rid of all those past feelings, anything that was weighing them down or making them feel hesitant about starting a relationship, because they found you and you are represented in this star. So after admiring you, after finding you, they threw out everything, they let go of the past, and they held you as like a treasure. They found you to be so much more important than anything else, that they were willing to just discard other things to be with you, and to discard any remnants of that previous relationship that may have affected them in future relationships or made them more hesitant towards starting that relationship with you. This Page of Pentacles card can also be read in a way where we see, in almost a hurry, in order to protect this pentacle that he stumbled upon, he's thrown out all of these sandwiches so that this pentacle can be placed in his bag for safekeeping. So there's a sort of a protection going on here. So there's something that is found within you that they want to keep safe. They see you as something so unique or so different that they're going to approach this relationship much different than they have previous relationships. They're going to see you as this new arrival, something that they never expected, something that they didn't know was out there. We can also see that leading into Judgment. We're seeing this approaching a new arrival, this journey into something new, this presentation of maybe the next life or a new life within this relationship and within this person's journey through relationships in their life. Mostly it's apparent to me as if they're trying their hardest to get rid of any of those leftover feelings that they had from their previous relationship, and they're not feelings of necessarily like love, they're feelings of almost frustration, they're feelings of things that needed to be complete but they never were completed, so they're sort of lingering there. And it's them mostly trying through this relationship with you, either now or in the future, to try and get past whatever this is, so that they can more focus on you and building this relationship with you, building this future with you, because they don't want that past to still weigh them down. So they're allowing themselves to be renewed in this situation and through this Judgment card. The last card we see here is the Star. And in this illustration of the card, that's depiction here, we're seeing the star represented in a very bright, lively way. Something that is so positive that we can only look at it with happiness. This is this final relationship with you, that culmination in a way, that bringing together of something that they had always planned on having, always hoped on having, but never quite got there because there are other people that had gotten in the way before them. So in this sense, when they see you, they know that there is no other to come along after you. There is only you, and they are committed to this relationship because they don't want to be with anybody other than you. That arrival of this star within all these cards, it's almost as if they knew all along that you were coming. They almost saw it before, because we do have the star in the time to go. That realization that somebody was out there, and that realization that you were out there somewhere waiting for them, led them to make these decisions leading up to finding you. And although they may still be a little hesitant in the beginning of the relationship, or they may not want to talk about this previous relationship, I don't see them comparing you two in a way that will negatively impact the relationship. And I don't really see them thinking anything great about this previous relationship. So it won't ever be a problem. There won't ever be an issue between you and this person that they were formerly with. So with this deck, I would say you really do come in at great timing, and they really do think very positive of you when you do come in. So there's really like a good balance in this relationship, a good positive relationship here. That's what I'm saying with this first deck and Obsidian. Starting with our second stack, we have Clear Quartz. Our first card is the Five of Pentacles. Next we have the Knight of Wands, the Page of Cups, and lastly a Leg Up. So in a similar way to the previous stack, I want to say that this person doesn't really think much about this previous relationship. I will say with this Five of Pentacles here, this sort of wilted flower sort of falling apart, it's not at its prime, but we sort of see that it did have potential. There is something in this relationship that has caused some sort of negative feeling about relationships with this person that you're going to be with or are already with. So if you're already with them, you might already see certain things where they'll say something that's sort of negative, like, well, it doesn't matter anyway if we break up, or well, maybe if I was capable of loving more. Like, there are certain things that almost like insult themselves. They almost like lower their worth in a way to make them seem like it's their fault. Everything's their fault. And even if it wasn't their fault, even if the situation wasn't even as big as they're making it out to be, they're going to make it out to be bigger because they're just so impacted by that relationship that it's going to stay with them. I do see them still be very capable of loving you and very capable of seeing you as a very important person in their life, but it seems to be more on a confidence side. The way that they see themselves is the real issue within this one. So it's not a comparison, and if anything, if they do compare you, it'll probably be that you're too kind to them or you're too supportive, and they're not quite used to that. And I see that a lot with a Leg Up card and Page of Cups. I also see that in Knight, of Wands here, but mostly with these two cards, we're seeing that sort of boost, that confidence boost that you keep telling them or giving them. You keep saying kind things about them, but their confidence is so low from this previous relationship that they're really going to have an issue or like a bit of a struggle believing you when you say these things, even though they are true. And no matter how many times you repeat them, and no matter how many times you tell them that you really do feel that way, they're going to continue to have problems. But I do see a growth within this relationship, and that is once again represented with this a leg up card, because we are seeing you help them on this journey, help them move forward and see that those issues were in the past and caused by that person that they were formerly in a relationship with. With this Knight of Wands card, I'm seeing them coming in and you seeing them as this very strong person or this very capable person that's got this air about them that you really fall for and that you're really interested in, but they don't see themselves that way. They see themselves more as like not very capable. So that is once again the sort of issue that is carried over from this previous relationship, but you're still seeing them as the great person that they are and the person that you want to be with. With the Page of Cups card, we're also seeing her holding this cup with a fish in it, admiring it. So it may be a weird situation where it doesn't quite make sense of why would she admire a fish with a scroll in his mouth. It's sort of a funny thing, but at the same time, we can see that's something that she likes, that's something that makes her happy, and that's something that she's interested in. And that's this relationship. So although they may find it odd that somebody like you, which they think like you're amazing, they really do value you, think you're incredibly attractive, think you're super smart, they think so many things of you, so that they're caught up in this moment where they're wondering why it is that you're with them. But as this relationship progresses, as you get through this, you're going to see them more believing you, more relying on you, and really forgetting about the past relationship, forgetting about things that cause any negativity in their own view of themselves and in their view of their capabilities. So there will be more loving, more responsive to this relationship, and much more as an equal partner in this relationship. They're going to try and commit themselves more into being in this relationship with you, like emotionally. So even though like when this relationship starts, it seems like they will try to stand back or sort of like make themselves out to be less, just so that you won't like them or think too much of them, because that's what they think about themselves. But then it'll grow. They'll be more believing in what you have to say. They'll rely on you more, they'll listen to you more, and they'll see that you really do see them as this very strong person, this very capable person, and move away from that negativity that this past relationship has caused them. So I wouldn't say at all there's a comparison other than you being just too kind to them, too nice, and so much different than their ex in a similar sense to the previous stack. I wouldn't say that there's anything that really came from that relationship. There doesn't seem to be anything that was wonderful about this ex. It seemed like they really did impact them in quite a negative way that they can't get over, and that might be difficult because you're going to try your hardest to help them get out of this relationship, or that out of the mindset that relationship left them in, and that may be difficult because you want them to believe you so much, but they're struggling to believe you. But other than that, I don't really see any comparison, anything that may cause any issues, or anything that would make their ex any better than you in this stack at all. So that's what I'm seeing with the second stack and rose or crystal quartz. Starting with our third stack, we have Ocean Jasper. Our first card is the Six of Wands. Next we have the Three of Swords, the Four of Pentacles, and lastly we have Yang. So we have a very strong relationship, a very almost hard-headed relationship with this previous person. There's a lot that went on here, and a lot of sort of like back and forth. Whether or not that relationship was right was the question that was on your future spouse's, future relationship partner's mind all the time throughout that relationship. With their ex, they really were struggling. It seemed like they just could not understand what was going on, and they couldn't decide whether or not they actually thought that relationship was good. But it seemed like every time the end came, they sort of backed off. They didn't want to to end it because they thought there was still something that could happen. They were still hoping for some sort of potential within this relationship. We see quite a strong start with this Yang card. So we see that fire represented here. We see a more intense energy here without that balance of a Yang or a Yin energy. We only see that Yang, meaning that there's a conflict. Both sides sort of wanted to be on top. Both wanted their voices heard and weren't willing to give or take in this relationship. We see the Four of Pentacles in this stack represented within by this mouse in his teapot, sort of sleeping. We see the cookies on this plate. It's sort of incomplete. We don't know the full picture. We just know a little bit here. And if we look at this card, we can say that there's almost a calmness, but we don't know what was before that calmness. We don't know what happened. So it could have been that this is the relationship. This was always a toxic relationship, constantly fighting, but then something made them want to stay together, or something made them hesitant toward breaking up. And then this calm would come along, and we see where they're getting along, but there's still like something weighing on them. There's still something that's overhead that's causing that negative feeling to persist. And then we see them go back to this toxic relationship, that bickering, that fighting, that not being able to understand each other. And then back to that time of calmness. What ultimately happened was it led to quite a big betrayal, and I'm seeing this on the ex's side, where they did something that sent your future spouse, your current spouse, or whoever, your partner, over the line, where they were like, this relationship cannot continue, I don't want to be with you anymore, we need to end it, this is over. And that's whenever they had the conversation to end the relationship, or when your future partner just walks away from this relationship because they don't want to deal with it anymore. Whatever they did was just so heartbreaking, so toxic, so regrettable that they couldn't handle it anymore, and it just had to come to an end. And then we see this final card here with the Six of Wands represented as almost this like tangled mess at the bottom, but we do see this butterfly flying free from it. So there's a freedom, there's a release from this toxic relationship and this renewal toward you and your relationship. I do see, however, with this one, they don't want to bring their relationship up because they don't want those negative feelings coming back. So with this one, I would say once again, there doesn't seem to be any comparison. There doesn't seem to be anything great about this previous relationship, but it seems like your future partner is very adamant about not speaking about this relationship because it caused so many issues that it still gets them upset. It still reminds them of what happened in a very emotional and sort of negative way, where they feel like they did when that situation was happening. So they're really not going to want to bring up this relationship or this previous person. And I think if you feel like you need to talk about it, or you need to ask them questions about their previous relationship and what this person was like, just so you can get a feel about it, just so you know where you're at in this relationship, I would say more if they don't want to talk about it, if they don't bring it up, and if you see them sort of getting upset when talking about it, I would say sort of maybe stop the conversation or back up a little, just so that you can stop that negativity from coming back, because it does seem to be something that is very heavy on their mind. We can have the Yang card as a very positive card, and I wouldn't say that this is going to cause any issues in your relationship. This card is a card of ideas, of renewal, of creation. We're seeing a lot going on here, but we're seeing that this card also needs balance, and that's where you can come in. You can be that balance in that relationship and allow this new relationship that you'll have with them to be one of equality, where you both hear each other out, rather than having this battle, this fighting going back and forth. If you come in with like the opposite demeanor in this situation, they may calm themselves down or be more likely to hear you out, because there's no combative nature going on between you two, unlike with that previous relationship. So just staying calm and not bringing it up, and only allowing them to talk about it when they want to talk about it, so like not pushing it, will be the best way to go about this. I really don't see this relationship impacting your relationship with this person. I see this ex they want this ex out of the picture. They want to forget everything that happened, and they want to just write it off as just a really bad time because it was very negative for them. But this relationship with you will be much different, much better, and they'll be able to really appreciate you. But I'm just seeing it as more of a toxic relationship that didn't really work out well, and one that they don't really want to bring up much. And that's what I'm seeing with its third stack in Ocean Jasper. Starting with our fourth stack, we have Labradorite. Our first card is the Hanged Man, the Ace of Wands, the Fool, and lastly, Observer. So with this Hanged Man here, we're seeing a change in perspective, a change in the way we look at things. So this person's previous relationship, your partner's previous relationship, seemed to cause some sort of reevaluation on life. What they thought was great wasn't as great as they thought. So it seems like in this situation, or in that relationship situation, they had gone for something. They had their eyes set, and we can see in this Observer card too, they almost had their eyes set on something and thought, that's perfect, I'm gonna go for it. Then we see the Fool card come in. We're seeing them jump into something that they thought was good, that looked interesting, but wasn't actually all it was cracked up to be. There were flaws that were overlooked and things that just weren't paid attention to, that they didn't find to be a big deal, but ended up being incredibly important when it came to this relationship. So when it comes to being in a relationship with you, when it comes to reevaluating the way they approach relationship, we're seeing a change in perspective. We're seeing that reevaluation on how they should approach things, the way that they look at things, and the way that they're going to handle this relationship with you, because they don't want that to repeat itself. They want to make sure that they have everything planned out and that they see everything clearly, so there are no real issues, so that this relationship with you won't end the way that previous relationship had ended. It seemed more on their part where they feel like it was something that they did that was sort of foolish, or sort of like they regret it because they didn't plan it out, and they didn't listen to maybe the advice of others, or they were so blinded by this love that they had with this person, or this feeling that they had, even just the attraction that they had with this person, that they didn't think about anything else, and to them that's a little embarrassing and something that they might not want to admit. So even though this relationship seemed like something that was going to be fun, and at the beginning I do see it represented as something that was quite fun and sort of youthful in a way, where there was an innocence and a joy to it, but as it progressed, it didn't have that serious or that like continuation aspect to it. It seemed like it was just never going anywhere. It just kept sort of casual in a way. But I see with you coming in, you're a much different story. You're if anything, represented within this Ace of Wands card, something that is serious, but still something that they can find joy and sort of playfulness in. So you are going to be one that is more wanting that commitment, which they may not necessarily be ready for, but when it comes to you, that's what they want. So it's going to be an odd feeling for them, because they'll still want to sort of have fun, sort of play around, and still sort of like have that youthful relationship, but at the same time they do want to settle down with you because they see all that you're offering them. So if anything, if there were a comparison with this, I'd say that they still sort of want that playful relationship in the beginning, because it's sort of like what they're attracted to. They want that fun, but at the same time they know better now than to go into something that's sort of whimsical, because that's not lasting. So it's something that they're going to realize, although it may be something that you might hear about sometimes, like, oh, we used to do this, and you need to tell them, don't bring it up, because that's not right for you. That's not right when it comes to this relationship with them. They shouldn't be comparing you to, because that relationship obviously didn't end up well if you're with them whenever this reading takes place, or whenever this time comes. They're not in that previous relationship, so they shouldn't be comparing you to that previous relationship. That relationship was not successful, obviously. So we're seeing this change where they're having to realize that what they want is not necessarily going to fall into the categories of what they need, and they might just have to give a little more than what they had planned, because they really thought that they'd be able to find this like playful person with this previous relationship that would turn into somebody who's more serious like you, but it never happened. The changing of that perspective, the ability that they have to understand what a serious committed relationship is really going to be the main key to this relationship, or what's really going to be the question that's asked quite a bit if they're willing to settle down, if they are ready for that commitment. But they are going to be in this relationship primarily because you do want that commitment, and that is something that they want in the future, and seeing it with you is what they want. They want that future with you. This observer card can be seen in many different ways, but we're also going to tie it in to the previous or the other cards here. We see a lot of different things going on in all of these cards. A lot of ups and downs, a lot of like different sort of points of view. But that's what's important, is the way we look at each card. This observer card is telling us that we need to look at things in a certain way so that we can better understand certain things. So in the only way that I'm seeing them compare you to the previous one is if they say that you don't want to have as much fun as the previous person. But that is the only way, because you're definitely much better at loving. You're much better at being in a committed relationship. You're much better at being with them, and they become a better person because of you. And it may be harder for them not to be able to just jump into things or act like the role of the fool because they're in a relationship with you. It does seem like there is quite a bit of positive growth that comes from it. So although the start of the relationship may be a little frustrating, know that soon enough, like, it'll progress straight into something where they're a lot less whimsical or sort of foolish. It'll come together quite fast. I don't really see them in any other way comparing you to the previous relationship. And that's what I'm seeing with Force Stack and Labradorite. Starting with our last stack, we have Rose Quartz. Our first card here is the Nine of Pentacles. We have the Nine of Wands, the Queen of Swords, and Chaos and Conflict. So once again, we're seeing another relationship that didn't really end up that well. We're seeing a lot going on here. Sort of like with, I think, the third stack, we see a lot of just fighting. But in this sense, rather than that, well, sort of two strong-headed people, it seems like this person that they were in a relationship with, this ex, really caused a lot of issues. Like, they almost enjoyed fighting, so they would purposely try to antagonize your partner. They do things just to irritate them, and it seemed like that got to a point where your partner, your future partner, sort of got super defensive, and they were just like, I'm cutting this person out of my life, and I'm never allowing anybody else in my life again because of the way that this person treated me, and because of the way that I feel because of this person. So there was a really negative period in their life where they just were heavily thinking about that. We see this in this Chaos and Conflict. There's just such a negative feeling going on for them. They don't know what to do. Their brains all over the place. They can't understand anything, and it's just sort of like falling apart, and they're trying to gather it all back up together, but things are not getting put in the right places. They're not able to put this back together. And we see with this Queen of Wands here, this sort of like cold front. We're seeing somebody who is on guard, ready for somebody to come at them. They're always prepared, always defensive, because they don't want to be put in a position where whatever this issue was happens again. And that's really where I'm seeing you meeting this person. You're meeting this person as they're going through this defensive mode, this always on guard mode, and it seems like something that you are going to take notice of. And it doesn't actually seem like that you'll start the relationship immediately because of this. This is going to cause a little hesitation in the relationship, and that might be because you two need time to bond so that they can let down their guard, so you can understand a little more about them, where they're coming from, so you know how to approach that relationship in the future. We see this Nine of Wands card again, another defensive approach. This person has obviously had something happen. We do see a shadow of a bird overhead, so it could be that this bird is coming in to attack them. So they've built up this wall of defense and are ready for them to come at them. So they're ready for this, almost as if they're ready for the return of this person. So maybe this person did something that has continued to impact them, and they're sort of worried because everywhere they turn, they have like reminders of them, or maybe like it was an online thing where they brought it up online and now everybody sees it and everybody keeps bringing it up, or there's something very public about it or very noticeable about what happened. It seems like this relationship involved multiple people, to where this person just, your future spouse, your future partner, just really doesn't know where to stand on this relationship and how to move forward. With this Nine of Pentacles, we once again see that defense, but the only thing that seems different in here is they're protecting these pentacles here. They're not standing away, they're surrounding these pentacles, and this to me is the arrival of you. They're going to protect you, surround you, and even though they're protecting you, even though it seems like they're still keeping that sort of on guard sort of persona, or that way they approach relationships, we can see that it's a much more delicate way. They're not as intense and they're not as scary, because these are feathers wrapped around these pentacles. A loving approach to protection, something that won't injure you, but something that will make you feel sheltered and surrounded, protected. This whole relationship, though, these three cards I'm really seeing as that negative relationship. There is nothing about that person that they can compare to you. There's nothing about them that they want to compare to you, because they took so much negative away from that relationship that they can't see anything positive about it. And that end to it, that whatever way it ended or whatever way it's still progressing, impacted them so heavily that they're so fixated on the negative things that it's almost like they're purposely forgetting anything that could have been positive. Even the reason that they got together, they don't understand why. They can't see any reasoning behind that relationship now. And then it seems just more that person was so almost hateful or vengeful, in a sense, that it really impacted them. It really weighed on their mind, and they didn't know how to approach another relationship. So if you do meet them and there's a bit of a gap between them, know that it was because they just weren't ready to start a new relationship. So if there's like a couple years between you and that person, don't be surprised because they didn't want to start a relationship because it was still weighing on their mind. When they do finally get around to opening up to you, know that they will be very protective of you and very committed to you. They will see you in a way that, like, in comparison to that other person, you're so wonderful that you can do no wrong, but they were so awful that it's no wonder you're wonderful. Well, that's really what I'm seeing. It's not a real comparison. There doesn't appear to be any comparison, because we do see that toxicity within these three cards, and then this arrival of you really comes and changes it. They will still have negative feelings when it comes to that previous relationship, but that previous relationship will not impact your relationship with them. They're definitely going to be able to separate the two. And that's what I'm seeing with this final stack and rose quartz. So those are all the stacks that I have for all of you today. I really hope that you found a stack that resonated with you or provided you with some sort of answer. I hope that you're all staying safe and healthy. If there is a question you'd like asked in a future pick a card video, feel free to leave that in the comments section. Please have a wonderful day, week, and year. Bye bye.